The Initial Interview, Evaluation Strategies for DSM-III Diagnosis by Robert L Spitzer, M.D., and Janet B.W. Williams, DSW, ACSW. The first element in the series, this tape is subtitled Anxious Construction Worker. Dr. Spitzer is Professor of Psychiatry, Columbia University, and Chief of the Biometrics Research Department, New York State Psychiatric Institute. He chaired the Task Force on Nomenclature and Statistics for Development of DSM-III. Dr. Williams is Assistant Professor of Clinical Psychiatric Social Work, Columbia University, and Research Scientist in the Biometrics Research Department, New York State Psychiatric Institute. She coordinated the DSM-III field trials. Dr. Spitzer conducts this interview. Commentary is led by Dr. Williams. This program is published by BMA Audio Cassettes, a division of Guilford Publications Incorporated, New York, New York.
How old are you?
41.
41.
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you have kids?
I have 4 children.
4 kids?
Yes.
What are their ages?
13, 14, 15, and 16.
Oh. Sounds like you had a busy
Well, we had 4 under 4 when we started
busy
out.
time for those
Yes.
4 years. And what kind of work do you do?
I'm in the building industry.
Mm-hmm.
I notice you didn't begin by asking the patient's chief complaint, but instead began asking him some background information.
I do that for 2 reasons. One is it gives me a little time to become a little more comfortable. It also gives the patient some time. Usually they're quite anxious about, what's going to be the first question. But the other reason is I like to have some context, the patient's age, whether they're married, family, with which to understand their chief complaint, and I find it useful to get that before rather than after. It also, sometimes, if you don't ask that kind of basic information or you're married, you can come in for some very important surprises later on in the interview that can kind of be awkward and embarrassing. Okay, could you tell me something about the problems you've been having, what kind of help you're hoping to get?
Well, I just have no motivation, and I just worry about everything, and I can't concentrate, no memory, and lack of self-worth, I guess. I'm afraid to live, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds to me as if the patient is depressed. What was your impression at this point?
Well, I certainly did think about depression also, particularly the first comment that he had no motivation, which many people feel is kind of the essence of depression. And he did mention other depressive kind of symptoms, such as lack of self-worth. But he also mentioned worrying, and I was thinking at that point, well, the differential between depression and anxiety is probably something we're going to have to deal with.
So I guess the next thing to do is to explore the differential between anxiety and depression.
Well, I think that's a little premature at this point. First of all, I don't really feel that I know enough about what his symptoms are. The other thing is I'm really not sure at all about whether this is a new problem that he's had or something that has been quite long-standing and chronic. So actually at this point I decide that I'd rather find out whether this is something new or chronic. Now, is that something that you've had for a long time, or is this something new? Or?
No, I don't think it's anything new. I think it goes clear back to, well, I don't know how far it goes back. I've always felt this way. Afraid of making phone calls and, doing my job, doing work, afraid of failing.
Mm-hmm. Has it gotten worse recently, or has there been any change in it that now you've decided to try to get some help?
No, I'm under, I'm seeing a doctor right now. But I just feel that, you know, there hasn't been any improvement, and it's, I guess, past few months since September, I've probably felt the best that that I can remember for a couple days, and I've probably been as low as I've ever been. But most of the time over the past, I don't think it really surfaced until I was out of school, but I knew that there was, I look back, I had the feelings even as far back as I can remember.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've been seeing this, is this a psychiatrist, this
Yes.
doctor? Mm-hmm. How long have you been seeing him?
Well, I had seen him for a few months in 1976, and I quit seeing him, and I saw a lay analyst for a couple years, and in between, well, I saw a couple after the lay analysts up, and then I went back to this doctor because I felt he was the only one that had helped me over the years, and it's been since I guess last summer.
Since
Yeah,
last summer that you
yeah,
went back. So
yeah.
you had seen him before?
Yes.
For how long a period?
I think it was only for, you know, maybe 2 or 3 months at the most at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So how old were you when you first saw somebody for these kinds of things?
first time I saw a psychiatrist, I was probably 23 years old.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember then what it was like?
I couldn't get a job. Or I couldn't, it's not that I couldn't get a job, but that I couldn't go and look for a job.
Mm-hmm. Because of?
I was just afraid to go in any kind of a job, no matter how small it was, how meaningless it was. I couldn't go in even for an interview.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel that that's very similar to the current?
I feel the same way.
You feel it's essentially the same?
Yeah.
So?
I don't feel that anything's changed.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Although I know a little bit more now than I did when I first got into the job market, but I'm afraid I don't feel that I don't have the confidence, which you know, it wasn't up till about 1978 or 79 that I really felt that I was qualified to do what I was doing as far as estimating and building. You know, I had basically taught myself the how to estimate and how to build. I was more or less thrown into it, and I had no choice but to learn through panic. I just, you know, every day I went to work, I was just scared, you know, of failing and not knowing what I was going to do. I was going to be embarrassed, and it wasn't until about 1978 or 79, the latter part of 78, well, I guess the latter part of 79, that I actually felt that I really knew what I was doing.
Mm.
But even now, I start questioning myself, and I know the economy is bad for the building industry, but I still felt that I could go out and drum up some work or do something, but I just, you know, afraid to do it.
Oh, I see. So right now, what, you're not working?
Oh, I'm working, yes, but I'm working with my hands right now. I'm not building or anything else. I've got some contract work that I'm doing, and you know, it's.
But you feel you ought to be doing what?
Well, I feel you know, that I should be building or you know, something of a lot in a larger sense than what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm actually back out in the field working with my hands, and I guess I feel a little bit you know, that I've failed, but
Mm-hmm.
I know the market's not very good right now, but it's still.
When you were working at your best level, what were you doing?
Well, I was in charge of estimating the jobs and hiring the contractors and overseeing everything except maybe the financial end of it, setting up the finances and etc.
Mm-hmm. So you had quite a bit of responsibility there.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that was how long ago?
Well, I was working for a company, and I quit in the fall of '78,
And since then, what's been happening?
Well, I worked with another fellow. We did a few restaurants, nothing of some additions, and past year and a half, I've been out on my own, totally.
Well, we now know that this is a chronic problem. It's been going on for a long, long time and has interfered seriously with his functioning over the years. It also seems not to have changed recently, and I'm not sure it is quite clear yet why he's come to the clinic at this point.
You're right, and that's actually something that I think you always want to try to find out when you're dealing with a chronic problem. Presumably something has happened. I don't know that I actually ever clarified that satisfactorily in this interview, although I think one gets the impression that he just has not been successful with previous treatment, and he has some expectation that this clinic might help him. I think at this point I'm going to go back now to that depression question and try to find out a little bit more about that. Now, how does this affect your mood? How would you describe your mood?
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of, do you get periods when you really feel down, depressed, sad?
Well, most of the time I feel that I go around down. I just
What is that down feeling like?
I just wanted to get home, and no obstacles. Even stopping for gas on the way home from work was frightening. I just wanted to get the hell out of work and get home. I was just nervous on a job.
Well, okay. Would you say you're more bothered by feeling nervous or by feeling depressed?
Well, I'm not sure I totally understand the definition of depression, but I guess when I think the nervousness overpowers.
You feel more nervous than...
Yeah, afraid.
Right.
At this point, I guess you've decided that nervousness is his main problem then. Is that right?
Right. I think he is depressed, but it sounds like nervousness and anxiety is the primary problem. And that's what I'm going to focus on now. So, would you feel that just about every day you're bothered by feeling nervous, scared in some way?
I think so.
Right.
I may go to bed at night feeling that I have everything under control, everything scheduled, and feel that, and wake up 4 to 6 hours later, 8 hours, whatever it is, and feel, that there's been a 360-degree turn. No matter having everything under control and scheduled, and all I have to do is get up and go to work.
Right.
I start thinking negative things, being able to find a parking spot or go through a...
Well, okay, let's go into what are some of the things that you start thinking about? You think, will I be able to get a parking spot tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
What else?
Well, a little over a year ago, I was doing some work at a school, just doing some refurbishing to the doors and the windows and etc. And just driving in, going through the security gate, just getting my tools out of the car, just getting into the building. I mean, it's different. Going through the gate, that scared me. Finding a place to park.
Well, it scared you because you thought what?
I don't know. I try to think, why in the hell am I worried about it? I don't know.
But what goes through your mind? What could happen? You must have some thought. What, they're going to stop you at the security gate? Or what?
Well, I don't know. Every time I try to think about it, I can't, my mind starts to wander and I can't hold a thought or why I'm afraid of going through there.
Okay, so maybe it's just something might happen and you don't know what it is. Or do you think of an actual thing that might happen?
Well, if I can concentrate on it long enough, I can't understand any reason why I should be afraid.
Right.
Other than, you know, I guess a lot of times I don't feel any different than I did when I was a teenager, and maybe I don't think of myself as which I don't think of myself as an adult or a breadwinner or a father, a husband.
Yeah.
And
Well, okay, you know, we'll get into that, but I still want to know the kinds of things that you worry about, that you feel you're afraid of. It sounds like you have some worry that something in the future something tomorrow might happen that's going to be not right.
well, I always worry about the next day.
Yeah, okay. Like what kinds of things could go wrong the next day? Or there specific fears that you have, specific situations that might arise?
Well, I go to work. I have two guys working out at this school today, and I have to go back tomorrow, and I have to schedule various rooms that we're going to work on, and it happens to be in a girls' dorm now, and just scheduling the rooms, you know, having to,
Right.
I feel that I'm putting them out or bothering them, and of course, I don't have very much self-esteem in this situation. I feel obligated
Okay, but
to them.
let's talk about the schedule in the rooms. What might happen? What in your mind do you play over might happen? You're trying to schedule the room and what? They give you a hard time, they're annoyed, what is it could happen?
Well, all of those.
Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, no.
You
I
actually
just-
think of those things?
Yes.
They might be annoyed with you?
Right. I feel that I'm going in there. I feel that, you know, that I'm. Well, that's a basic thing, that I'm, you know, annoying these people.
You might be annoying them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are there specific situations that scare you that you want to stay away from?
Well, I, you know, just relating to being annoying people, it's the same feeling I have when I go to a store or.
Okay, you go into a store.
A grocery store, a department store, and I'm buying something. I feel that I'm annoying people, even though I'm there to purchase something.
Right.
And,
Right. Now,
feel
do you kind of realize that that's silly, or do you think it's not silly? Do you think you really might be annoying them more than anybody else?
No, I don't feel that I'm annoying them more than anybody else, because when I sit back and if I can regroup and think in a positive sense
Right.
of,
Then you know it's ridiculous.
I know it's ridiculous.
Okay.
Why that I should.
Right.
But
Okay. Are there any specific situations like crowds, elevators, tunnels, things like that that scare you, being outside of the house?
No, I'm not afraid of.
No.
Well, I you know, of leaving the house, I notice that I am, you know, I feel secure at home.
Right.
But as far as going into an elevator or across a bridge, that doesn't, or getting
No.
into a plane, that doesn't
Right.
frighten
Okay,
me.
so it sounds like social situations. Somebody else is involved.
I mean, I've been afraid to, I mean, I've got a neighbor in my backyard that I haven't even met yet, that, you know, he's been there for a year, and I'm embarrassed now to even go over and introduce myself.
Right, okay. So it sounds like a lot of these worries have to do with you and other people. How are they going to react to you?
Well, going out, just taking the trash out, or just going into my backyard is sometimes an
Okay, no,
obstacle.
let's stay, that's interesting. Let's stay on that. You want to take your trash out.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind?
There again, I don't know why I'm afraid of these things.
Well, but what is it? Somebody might see you, or what?
Well,
You might not, you might drop it? I mean, what, there must be something that you're thinking about.
I think that, well, I guess I'm embarrassed because I haven't introduced myself, for one thing. But
I mean,
that's
this is to your
not,
neighbor.
Yeah,
So you're going out to
yeah.
empty your trash, your neighbor may see you, and you think, he may think, why hasn't this guy come?
Well, I don't think that's necessarily it, no.
Okay, what is it?
This is what happens when I get into therapy. I can't think and or hold a thought, but
Well,
I think, you know, if it depends on what frame of mind I'm in, which I think most of the time.
well, let's say you're in a bad frame of mind.
Well, I'm not necessarily a bad frame of mind, but meaning that if I'm not in a conscious or thinking in a positive frame of mind instead of a negative, if I'm thinking positive, I'll go out and take the trash
No
out.
problem, right.
But I think most of the time, I think 99% of the time I have a negative frame of mind.
Right, and then what would you be thinking?
I can't think of any reason why. I mean, just to go out and get the mail, or it's the same thing. But I don't know why I'd be afraid. Or God, my neighbors are fantastic, and let me go past the trash. Maybe
Okay.
it's the same thing when sometimes when I go out in the driveway and I'd work on my car, I would be embarrassed to do that. I mean, if it was, you know, even change the oil, or not the oil, but the antifreeze, instead of taking it to have the station do it all the time.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, I bought some antifreeze 2 or 3 years ago, and I still have it. I sent it back to the service station. Well, I was afraid to go out and do it because, you know, the neighbors might be watching me, or they're wondering, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Or
Right.
I was afraid that I was going to make a mistake, and someone might come up and.
You've just spent a lot of time trying to find out the specific situations he was nervous about or afraid of. Why was that so important?
Well, it's important for several reasons. First of all, it's not enough to just know that he's nervous. There are many different kinds of anxieties, and I want to see how he experiences that anxiety, both so I will have more of an understanding of how he experiences his difficulties, and also it has diagnostic significance. My sense was that he had great deal of difficulty actually giving the cognitions that accompany his anxiety, but it's clear that he worries about the future, and he worries about all kinds of situations, social situations, in which he may be embarrassed or potentially humiliated.
What does that mean diagnostically? What were you thinking about?
Well, diagnostically, it certainly raises the question of a social phobia. The essence of a social phobia is anxiety about specific situations in which the individual is afraid they may do something that will be humiliating or embarrassing to them.
At this point, do you think you have evidence for that diagnosis?
Well, I think there is a lot of evidence, although ordinarily a social phobia is limited to a more circumscribed situation. I was a little puzzled as I was listening to him at the large number of situations. That is, it does not seem to be restricted to a single situation like eating, public speaking. And this is an issue that later I keep returning to. Are there any specific things like talking in public? Is that very hard for you? Eating in public, writing, signing your name?
Well, I noticed lately, well, you know, a couple of years, up to 2 years ago, it was 2 years ago in February that I felt I was getting extremely bad, and at that period for the next year, even coming, as I said, coming home and getting gas, just signing my name. When I signed it, I didn't know whether I was going to, not that I didn't remember how to spell my name, but whether I, you know, would, you know, either break it up or make a mistake writing my name.
Right. And how much did that bother you?
Well, as I said, I didn't particularly enjoy. I hated it when I knew I was low on gas that I had to stop and.
Because was it specifically signing your name that?
No, that was just one of them. I noticed that at the end. I just.
Okay. In other words, signing your name was just part of having to
Well,
deal
that
with
plus,
somebody.
well, that plus, you know, feeling that I was bothering somebody, although I'm, you know, buying a tank full of gas.
Right.
But I still feel as though I was.
What about eating in public? Did you ever get concerned that you'd be embarrassed by how you ate, or?
As far as manners, you mean?
Or anything.
Well, I don't think I'm embarrassed as far as manners, but I mean, I'm very conscious of whether I'm ordering the right food, or I'm not a wine connoisseur. But as far as ordering wine, I can't remember, other than as someone ordered, you know, a fancy drink or something like that, I would not remember it by the time I got from here to the bar.
Yeah.
Unless it was scotch or, you know, a martini or something like that. If it was a banana daiquiri or some damn thing that, and I probably couldn't have said banana daiquiri or daiquiri a few weeks ago.
Right.
I know my enunciation has gotten a little better, but in fact, my mother ordered.
Wait. So you were concerned that with your enunciation, how you were saying words, and
Not so much the enunciation as much as that I couldn't remember it when I got there.
you couldn't remember what you wanted to say.
Right.
Right.
Drink.
Have you avoided situations because you would be called upon to talk and you didn't want to have to say anything?
For 20 years.
You feel you've been doing that?
Yes. I avoid situations that I know that.
Well, okay, let's go over the situations that you avoid.
Well, I mean, just, you know, the first one that pops in my mind as far as going out and getting more work. I mean, as far as going to the bank and proceeding with the construction to the financial end to the settlement end.
Right. Okay. Now, the impression that I have from what you've told me is that you're avoiding those situations is because there are many different ways in which you think you might embarrass yourself. In other words, it's not just one. I mean, there are people,
Right.
for example,
Yeah.
who are only concerned that they can't talk, or they're only concerned that if they eat in public that, you know, something funny is going to happen. That doesn't sound to be your case. It sounds as if you're afraid you might annoy them. You're afraid you won't say it quite right. You'll forget what's on your mind. In
Right.
other words, it doesn't seem as if there's any one
No.
thing.
No.
There are many different ways in which, am I right?
Yeah.
This ends side 1.
Why are you giving him your impression at this point?
Well, I had a strong impression that what he was telling me was that his anxieties did all focus around these social situations in which he was afraid he was embarrassed or humiliated, but I wasn't certain, and I wanted to play this by him and see how he reacted to it, because I find often that is a way for me to make sure that I'm on target. Sometimes the patient will tell me, no, that's not the way it is. In this instance, he is not really very reflective.
Yes, that's true, but he did seem to agree that you were on the right track.
Right. At this point, although I am thinking of social phobia, I want to check out some other anxiety disorders, in particular generalized anxiety disorder. This is a new category in DSM-III, but it's a category for individuals who feel a lot of anxiety that is not attached to specific phobic situations. And the diffuseness of his anxiety makes me interested in that. And also I want to ask as to whether or not he has panic attacks. That's also a new DSM-III category, panic disorder.
You mentioned that his anxiety seems diffuse to you, but actually to me it seems just the opposite. Always tied to specific situations, even though those situations come up all the time.
Well, you're probably right. Diffuse is probably not the right word. I guess pervasive
or ubiquitous.
Or ubiquitous. What I meant was that it did not seem to be in time limited to only one or two situations. There are so many situations that this poor fellow is anxious about that he seems to be anxious almost all of his waking time.
Right.
Now, you mentioned, you've got many symptoms of anxiety, and I want to ask you about some specific symptoms, and you tell me, to what extent you've been bothered by these. What about feeling jittery?
Well, I guess under certain circumstances, any of these circumstances, I'd feel jittery, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, how often do you feel kind of shaky inside?
Only when I'm in a when I go out into a situation where I know that I'm, going to be anxious about.
Well, okay, but when you are anxious, do you often feel shaky inside, or trembling, or jittery?
Right.
What about your muscles feeling tense or achy?
I don't think that, I may, when I start worrying, Sundays are my worst days. I worry about the next day going back to work. I get, I get diarrhea.
But your muscles don't feel particularly tense.
No, I don't think
What about
so.
feeling physically restless, like you just can't sit still, or hard to relax?
Well, I don't think I really know how to relax.
Do you feel that you tire easily? Or you
I think I tire more mentally than I do physically.
do you sweat a lot?
I used to, not nearly as much as I used to.
What about, does your heart often pound or race?
Only in,
Only when you're in these situations? Are your hands often cold or clammy when you're nervous?
when I'm in a situation, yes.
Your mouth feel dry?
I guess it has, the past few weeks I noticed it's been dry. But,
Do you urinate more often than usual when you're feeling nervous?
well, I was under medication for, high blood pressure and taking pills to, get the water out of me, so didn't notice I did it anymore. I mean, I'm always going to the bathroom, so.
Now, okay, suppose you're at home and you don't have to go into any of these social situations. Are you still nervous, or are you pretty relaxed? In other words, is your nervousness only when you've got one of those situations that you've got to go into, or are you nervous even if you're home but you're thinking about what you have to do?
Well, I worry about the next day. I'm afraid if I don't get enough rest. I mean, say there's a meeting at the school, or, just for the kids or something like that. I would worry about it during the day if I woke up and knew that I had to go to the school. I wouldn't, I'd be very irritable and afraid that I was not going to get enough rest. I feel once I get home from work, I just have realized that the past few weeks that if I get to work, that's a success for me. And if I get home, it takes me, I have to have, if I'm afraid if I don't get at least 8 hours of sleep, that I won't be prepared to go the next day.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired when I wake up and...
Well, but my question is whether your nervousness is really just when you have to go into these social situations that you have all kinds of worries about, or are you pretty, nervous even at other times?
I think I'm worried about the next day, right on through. I don't have that many periods. Well, I can sit down and watch a good movie or something, hopefully.
You can?
Yeah, I can watch a movie through. But, I think I have a tendency, if I watch something else rather than concentrate on, if I can get engrossed in something else, I feel better. But, I...
Right. Do you ever have periods when you suddenly get all, panicky and nervous, just in a few minutes, all of a sudden you're in a panic, maybe for no reason that you can understand?
No, I don't think I have.
Never had that?
No, not that I can remember.
Well, he clearly doesn't seem to have panic attacks, but what did you make of the generalized anxiety disorder question?
Well, it's a little more difficult there. He says yes to many of those symptoms, but he says that those symptoms occur in the situations that we've that he talked about, which makes it sound like that is not, generalized anxiety apart from the phobic situations. But again, these socially phobic situations are just so common that he experiences these symptoms very frequently. Yeah. Now, I haven't asked you anything about your family and how you get along with your wife. How does this affect that?
Well, we've been married for 18 years now, and it certainly has taken its toll on the situation.
In what way?
Well, I'm sure that if it wasn't for the kids right now, we'd probably be separated.
Really?
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of stresses between the two of you?
Well, I don't think there's been a lot of arguments, this and that, but I mean, when I don't go to work and stay in bed, I mean, I can understand it now. I mean, we've been going on for 18 years now, and it hasn't gotten much better.
Well, how often does that happen that you'll stay in bed?
In the past 4 years, it's been quite a bit.
How long will you stay in bed?
Well, if I know I've missed one day a week.
Just staying in bed, because you
Staying in
just
bed.
couldn't face it.
Well, the fear of going out was, greater than me getting up, as much as I love my wife and my kids, and as much as it hurts for them to see me that way. And there was a period about 3 years ago that, I was laid up for, I'd injured my back and my knee, but not nearly as bad as it gave me an excuse for. I think it was gave me more of an excuse to stay in bed than anything else. I finally had something that was more tangible, or that I could. It was physically instead of mentally that.
Yeah. So it sounds like these problems are with you just about all the time.
I think so. I'd never, up till a few years ago, I'd never really distinguished between positive and negative thinking, and I just.
Well, what about what kind of things do you enjoy doing?
I really don't. Well.
Do you have many friends?
Well, other than work associates and guys I've worked with, but I don't. Or my social life is. I don't go out that. I never go out with the boys or etc. like that.
Do you ever have people over to your house?
Very seldom, other than my in-laws.
Is that something you would want to do if you?
I'd love to do it, sure.
But you can't because.
I just. Well, I'm sure, and we don't do it as much as we should because my wife never knows what kind of a mood I'm going to be in. And, sometimes I may be for it one day, and the next day I'll be against it.
Yeah. Well, what about your moods? How moody do you get?
It's just been the past few months that I've been able to, I think, to raise my voice and yell at my wife, which I hadn't done for long, and yell at people that I hadn't done for years.
But you said she doesn't know what kind of mood you're going to be in. Does that mean that sometimes you get very despondent and withdrawn? Or?
Right.
You don't want to talk to her? Or?
Right. Not about the way I feel, anyway.
Yeah. Have you had times when you felt so hopeless about your situation that you thought maybe you ought to kill yourself?
No.
No.
I've been asked that damn many times, but I get a little irritable because, I've seen doctors off and on for 20 years, and I just, I feel I've been through hell for, as far back as I can remember, and I see, I just have so much, but I'm not enjoying anything that I have.
Yeah.
And I want to live. I know it's there. I'm just hoping, I don't know whether, someone says you'll be cured tomorrow, or, in a year or 2 years, I don't know whether I'd believe them or not. I'm at the point now where I don't know whether I feel as though, there's a cure out there for me.
Right. Okay.
Well, we certainly seem to have a better picture now of what his life is like. We've heard about what it's like at work and now at home. I was a little surprised when you asked him about suicidal thoughts, because I thought you had decided earlier on that he wasn't depressed.
Well, what I said was I thought he was more anxious than depressed in the sense of having a depressive disorder or depressive syndrome. But suicidal ideation and suicidal behavior as well are not only associated with depression. People with a chronic illness, actually alcoholism and schizophrenia, have more suicide attempts than even depression, or as much. So I was concerned whether this fellow has been very despondent.
You've tried medication for this?
I've taken various antidepressants, as I had told John, that I don't think I've ever taken a pill that has ever has given me an uplift. Maybe I was expecting too much from it.
Mm.
If anything, it made me feel worse, more tired, and because I feel tired in the morning as it is, and I've never had any type of antidepressant that has given me a lift.
Yeah. Now, let's go back a little bit to when you were younger, because you said this really goes back a long time. When do you first remember being aware of these kind of problems?
Well, we just want to say one thing about the pills. I may not have taken them long enough. That I don't know.
Right.
Well, the thing the past few months that I've felt, I say, gee, I'm 41 years old and I don't feel any different than I was when I first came out here from Oregon 18 years ago, that standing outside of a factory, walking up and down, wanting to go in, see about a job, and I couldn't go in. I don't feel any different today than I did then when I was 24 years old, than I did when I was in the first grade, because I was late for school. We had moved from Medford, Oregon to Grants Pass, and there was about 2 or 3 months left in school, first grade, and I was late. I don't know whether it was the first week, first day, or, well, it wasn't the first day, but it was around the first couple of weeks that I'd gone to this new school, and I was late, and I stood outside the school by the mailbox and the telephone pole the whole day.
Mm.
When they went out for recess, I could see them, and I'd stand behind them.
Now,
I had the same feeling. I was afraid to go in there because I was just a few minutes late.
and what might happen if you...
I know that was going to be your next question. I racked my brain to try and, other than, that maybe I'd be criticized and, be laughed at, and have that same damn feeling to this day.
Yeah. What about with friends? Do you have that feeling that somebody that you know well might be very critical of you, or is it... See, what you've mainly talked about is strangers, really. You've talked... All the situations you've talked about are strangers. Mm-hmm. What about if you meet somebody and, gee, it seems like a nice person, you'd like to get to know them. Do you have the feeling there also of...
Not if I felt that this was a nice person, I'd like to get to know him, I wouldn't feel that way.
You wouldn't feel scared that they might think...
No.
So it seems like that it's exclusively with strangers, is that right?
Well, I mean, I've met strangers that I've felt that, gee, I wouldn't want to, I'd feel uneasy around them, that I wouldn't feel confident.
No, but it sounds like with somebody that you know well, you don't worry about these things.
No.
Like family members?
No, it's, no, I wouldn't. If it was a friend, they wouldn't be a friend. I mean, I wouldn't classify them as a friend if they were...
What about when you were younger, say, meeting a girl and going out, asking her for a date? Were you very timid or shy about that? Because she might look stupid or...
Well, I guess I was lucky when I was younger and had hair and a little less weight, but I think most of the time, and I look back on it now, most of the girls I went with, they made the, made the first steps towards me.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few times that, that I liked girls that didn't like me, and I let it be known, but I think later on, and ever since I got out of school, I mean, it was unless the woman made the first
unless she let you know she cared.
That, that she was attracted to me. I was timid, I guess.
Mm.
Sexually, I would be afraid to outside the family. I would have been.
Mm-hmm. And would you worry that you might look stupid, or all the things that you worry about now? Did you worry about with girls?
Well, I don't know that I felt I would be stupid. I know I was very, very shy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You were.
All right.
Yeah.
Unless they were very forward, and I could tell that they were, that they liked me quite a bit. I felt relaxed, I guess.
Yeah.
What were you trying to get at in this section? What was your thinking?
Well, I was interested in the extent to which, over a long period of time, this exquisite sense of fear of humiliation and embarrassment has interfered with his interpersonal relationships. There is a personality disorder category, avoidant personality disorder, in which individuals characteristically are afraid of entering into relationships with other people unless they can be guaranteed of acceptance, because they are so afraid of criticism. And I was interested in the extent to which he might have this as an associated personality condition. I wasn't too sure in listening to him. He claimed that he did have some close friends, although I wasn't sure about the quality of those relationships. But it didn't sound as if the fear of humiliation was affecting his interpersonal relations as much as being involved in these phobic situations that we've heard about. It was a very poignant way in which he described as a kid sitting out in front of the school, and how similar that is to his current problems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, look, we have to stop in a moment. How would you or how do you put it all together in your own head? How do you?
Well, most of the time I can't put it together, but
Yeah.
And every time I sit down to try and put it together, everything just runs together.
Yeah.
Well, I just, like I said, I just feel that that I have a problem. What the problem is, I mean, I don't look down on myself anymore, and I used to punish myself before. I mean,
Yeah.
even when I stayed in bed, I realized I'm going to come out of it sooner or later, and doesn't bother me as much as it used to, and I don't feel as guilty seeing my wife, and I just.
Yeah. Well, we've only spoken, a relatively short time, and you'll have to, you'll be talking some more with some other people here. But it does seem as if, a kind of central problem is this fear of embarrassment and humiliation, that you might do something that's going to annoy somebody else, that other people are going to think badly of you. It sounds
Right.
like you're
Yeah.
always anticipating, is that going to be a situation, and then do I have enough strength to go into that situation to do it, or maybe, better stay in bed?
Well, along with that, I was afraid of a physical confrontation, too.
What?
Well, I just felt that, many times dealing with these situations, that it was going to be a physical confrontation, and I was afraid of it.
You mean, how would that be? What would be a physical confrontation?
Well, even getting gas in the car, or, just driving, it's another fear of just driving the car. I always
And
felt,
what would happen?
should I?
Okay, what about driving the car?
Well, I mean,
What could
should
happen?
you come to a corner, and, everybody, first car there has the right of way, and I
Right.
hesitate, well, should I have let him go first, or shouldn't I? I worry about, timid as hell, and, did I cut the guy off, or,
And would that guy be pissed with you, get out of the
Well-
car, start a fight? Is that what we're
well, that, and plus when I used to control these jobs, and you asked me a while ago to analyze myself, and that's what the hell I feel I am. I'm just a
Yeah.
big scaredy cat. I'm scared to live. Scared to make a mistake.
Okay, well, why don't we stop now?
diagnostically, how would you put this all together?
Well, I think the diagnosis of social phobia, which was certainly suggested early in the interview, emerges as the most likely diagnosis. There's all kinds of evidence of numerous situations in which this fellow is terrified because of a very specific fear that he will do something that will make him look stupid or incompetent, he'll be embarrassed or humiliating. What is a little different from the usual, or at least the kind of classical textbook description of social phobia, is that it is not limited to one or two specific situations like public speaking, writing, or eating in public. So diagnostically, I think that's rather clear. There was some question of generalized anxiety disorder, and as I indicated, I think that has pretty much been ruled out. There's no evidence for any other anxiety disorder, such as obsessive compulsive disorder. Regarding agoraphobia, he certainly has had periods where he's been afraid to leave the home, but it's not the typical agoraphobic fear of sudden incapacitation or of having a panic attack. It seems like he stays at home when he's just terrified of going into these social situations, and also when he's very demoralized.
And the avoidant personality disorder?
Well, I explored that briefly and didn't seem to elicit any evidence that this fear of humiliation affects interpersonal relations. It's more these situations rather than the interpersonal relationships, which would be characteristic of avoidant personality disorder.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you if there were other things in the interview that you might have covered but didn't.
Well, I didn't go into the issue of substance abuse, alcoholism, and that I think is an area that needs to be gone into, because frequently people with this high level of chronic anxiety will self-medicate themselves with alcohol or various drugs, although I would doubt, just from my kind of impression, that had been a serious problem.
But it probably should always be asked.
Right. You know, there are many other, I didn't ask him specific questions about psychotic symptoms, because I think that's very unlikely. I didn't ask him about mania, which is another thing that in a diagnostic interview one ought to, always touch base on. But I think for an initial evaluation, I did get a pretty good sense of what his chief complaint, the presenting symptoms, the temporal course of the illness, and his understanding, which is rather limited, but his understanding of what is the problem.
Mm-hmm. Where would you go in subsequent interviews with this patient?
Well, I think this initial interview is a good beginning for developing a therapeutic alliance. He has mentioned that previous attempts at medication had not been very successful. I'd want to review that treatment history, and I think one would have to get into this fellow's way of thinking, his cognitions, and how he catastrophizes, and this exquisite sensitivity that he has to social humiliation, and see if one couldn't get him to modify that sensitivity in some way.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much.
This ends the first tape.